What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. Hamas Tang, and today we'll be comparing two very awesome flagship phones here in 2022. And in the first corner we have the Huawei P50 Pro. This is the latest flagship phone from Huawei, and in the other corner over here we have the Galaxy S21 Ultra, arguably one of the best flagship phones you can get in 2021. And today what we can do is of course compare these two phones here side by side with each other, and of course help you to decide which phone to get by the end of this video. So what we're going to do is of course go through some key specs and features on both of these two phones, and like I mentioned, help you to decide at the end of the video. So yes, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So first things first, let's start off with the prices on both of these two phones. So the Huawei P50 Pro does start off at about 4199 ringgit here in Malaysia, and this is for the 8GB RAM variant with 256GB of storage. And here we have the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and if you can get it here in 2022, this one does sell for about 4599 ringgit Malaysia, and this is for the 12GB RAM variant with 256GB of storage. So next up here, let's talk about the build and design on both these two phones. And as we can see, both of these two flagship phones do have a very nice build material. Here with the Galaxy S21 Ultra, we do have a Gorilla Glass Victus on the back and also on the front, whereas with the Huawei P50 Pro, it is made out of glass, but I'm not too sure what kind of glass it's made out from. Other than that, when we look at the design with the S21 Ultra, you do have a very huge camera layout. But of course, it does have a very nice cyborg feel, and even in 2022, I still feel that this is a very nice design. It does have a frosted back over here, so in terms of fingerprints, you're not going to get it on the S21 Ultra. You have your power button, you have your volume rockers, and on the other side, it's very clean. You have your stereo speaker setup, you have USB-C charging, you have your SIM card tray slot, and also your top firing speaker at the earpiece. Over here, we do have a curved display, which I think is one of the best when it comes to this kind of flagship phones. It feels very nice in hand, and in terms of the viewing experience and in terms of accidental touches, you're not going to get a lot with the S21 Ultra. Going on to the Huawei P50 Pro, very nice camera design as well. Huge camera, you have a quad camera setup, and it does have a very unique design, which of course is something I really do like, and also does look really slick. In terms of the buttons, we have the power button and also volume rockers, and on the other side, it's very clean and very similar. You do have your SIM card tray slot, you have the USB-C charging, you have a down firing speaker, and also a top firing speaker giving you a stereo speaker setup. All in all, in terms of the build and design on both these two phones, you're not going to go wrong with any of them because they look really awesome, and there's nothing to complain. Very nice on both of these two phones. So next up, let's talk about the displays on both of these two phones. So starting with the S21 Ultra, it does come with a bigger 6.8-inch display compared to the 6.6 you can find on the Huawei P50 Pro. Both of them do use an AMOLED panel, and they do have your 120Hz of refresh rate. So in terms of color, in terms of accuracy, I really like the displays on both of these two phones. You are never going wrong with this kind of flagship phones when it comes to displays. Both of them do look really nice, and of course it's really hard to choose them in terms of the color calibration. Both of them do look really slick, and of course with that 120Hz refresh rate, it looks very buttery smooth, and of course feels really good and very premium indeed. Watching content over here is going to be really good in case if you guys are wondering which flagship phone to get in terms of the display. And also moving forward, we'll talk about the stereo speakers on both of these two phones. So yes, when it comes to the speakers, I think both of them are really loud, and of course in terms of clarity, in terms of bass, both of them are doing really well. And also one more thing to note is that both of these two phones do have an official IP68 rating, so it is water and dust resistant up to 50 meters. Okay, and of course one of the major thing about both of these two phones is of course the internal specs. So with the S21 Ultra, it's running with the Exynos 2100 here in Malaysia, and it does come with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage, which of course you cannot expand it with any micro SD slot. Here with the Huawei P50 Pro, for the the first time ever, it's running a Snapdragon processor. It's the Snapdragon 888, and we of course know a lot about it when it comes to performance. And of course, in terms of the internal specs as well, we do have about 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. You can of course expand this with a Huawei Nano memory card. In terms of course performance and in terms of speed, both of them really do really well in terms of just everyday performance. But of course, if you guys are into a lot of gaming, definitely the Snapdragon 888 will definitely a little bit perform better compared to the Exynos 2100 when it comes to battery management, when it comes to temperature and all that other stuff when it comes to gaming. But all in all, I've been using the S21 Ultra for the longest time and it has never actually failed me, or you don't get a lot of stutters, a lot of lags. Same that goes with the P50 Pro because it's running the Snapdragon 888. So not much problem over here in terms of internal specs. And now let's move on to the software side of things. And now we have reached the software side of things. So with the S21 Ultra, it's running your ONEUI 4.0, which of course is on top of your Android 12. Here with the Huawei P50 Pro, it's running your EMUI 12.0.1. And in terms of the software side of things, I gotta say both of them do have a lot of features, a lot of customizations. You can change your wallpaper, you can always have your always on display, you can have your navigation dock. Over here you have your Edge panel. It does have your Samsung DeX, Samsung Pay. This one doesn't really have that, but it does have a lot of good stuff as well. There's also the notification panel. In terms of just scrolling through, you can of course have your app drawer, which of course same thing you can do here with the S21 Ultra. So when it comes to this kind of software, both of them are very polished over the years. Huawei has made a really good job when it comes to making the user experience really nice. And of course, if you guys are from China or whatever, I don't know how you're gonna watch this, but you have the Harmony OS, and when it comes to synchronization of the apps, in terms of your customizable, in terms of your wearables like your earphones and all this other stuff, it really works really well. Over here, you do have your Galaxy Buds, you do have a lot of stuff like your Galaxy Watch as well, which works really fine. Here you have your free buds, you have your earphones and all this other stuff as well, which works really nice. In terms of software, definitely I like both of them. And of course, this one, the Samsung does have an over edge over here because it does have your Samsung DeX and of course Samsung Pay, which I do use quite consistently. And of course, I've been into the Samsung ecosystem for quite some time, so I'm definitely more used to having a Samsung phone. But of course, I've been using the Mate 20 Pro for quite some time as well, and of course, very used to Huawei. And of course, they have never disappointed me when it comes to their software. Like I mentioned, very nice and very polished. But of course, the major thing is that this one doesn't have Google outside of anywhere, even in China or outside of China, which of course is a major thing for a lot of people. I know a lot of people have been using Huawei phones for quite some time, and the reason why they have switched out is because they do not have the Google services. Of course, there are certain ways you can actually do that by, installing your APK, using the app gallery, and of course, maybe just getting someone to install Google services for you. But if you don't want the hassle, maybe the S21 Ultra would be good for you. And now moving forward to the battery and charging side of things, here with the S21 Ultra, it does have a massive battery over here, 5000 mAh of battery, compared to the 4360 you can find on the Huawei P50 Pro. But to be honest, in terms of battery performance, they do give me about the same. The S21 Ultra definitely does edge it a little bit more compared to the P50 Pro, but I know Huawei does have a very good performance when it comes to battery side of things. So yes, in terms of battery performance, both of them are doing really well. Of course, one of the major things that Huawei does have an advantage over the Galaxy phones is of course when it comes to the charging. So with the Huawei P50 Pro, you are given a 66 watts of the Huawei supercharged charger brick out of the box, and of course you can charge up your phone from 0 all the way to 100% in just about half an hour. And with the S21 Ultra, you're not even given a charger brick right off the box. So if you want to buy them, you can buy the 25 watts because that is the only highest wattage that this one does support. So it does take some time, about an hour or so, to charge up from 0 all the way to 100% on the S21 Ultra. So both of these two phones do have a fingerprint and face unlock, and with the S21 Ultra, it uses an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. And as we can see from here, you gotta hit the right spot, that's what she said, to get it to unlock. In terms of face unlock, pump it to my face. It does take some time to get it registered, but it does work quite fast, I would say. But if we go on to the Huawei P50 Pro, if I just put my hand over here, as we can see, it just goes for face unlock, works really well. One more time over here, recognizes and gets the job done. Let's try the fingerprint on this phone. Works really fast. One more time, boom, you're right into your phone. And yes, the last thing that we are going to talk about here is definitely those cameras. So in terms of the camera cutout, we can see that they are centered on both of these two phones. This one here definitely looks larger compared to the S21 Ultra. In terms of the sensor size over here, the S21 Ultra does come with a 40 megapixel f2.2 sensor with dual autofocus, and it can record up to 4K at 60 FPS. Here with the Huawei P50 Pro, it does come with a 13 megapixel f2.4 sensor, and it can record up to 4K at 30 FPS. So going on to the rear cameras over here, starting with the main lens, it does come with a 108 megapixel f1.8 sensor with dual autofocus, laser autofocus, and OIS. It also does have a 10 megapixel f4.9 telephoto camera, which also does come with dual autofocus, OIS, and can go up to 10 times of optical zoom. We have another telephoto camera over here, 10 megapixel f2.4, and this one does have your dual pixel autofocus, OIS, and can go up to 3 times of optical zoom. And lastly, we do have a 12 megapixel f2.2 sensor that is for the ultra wide, and it also does have your dual pixel autofocus and a super steady video mode. And going on to the Huawei P50 Pro, we do have a 50 megapixel f1.8 sensor with dual autofocus, laser autofocus, and OIS. And we do have also another 64 megapixel f3.5, which does act as your telephoto lens, and it does have your dual autofocus, OIS, and can go up to 3.5 times of optical zoom. And of course, we have a 13 megapixel ultra wide f2.2 and a 40 megapixel f1.6 sensor. Alright, so now let's check out some photos and videos on both of these two phones and compare them side by side. So that is it, guys. That is the comparison between the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the Huawei P50 Pro. And of course, the ultimate question is which one to get. Yes, for me personally, I would definitely go for the S21 Ultra. It definitely does have everything that I always wanted. It does have your Samsung DeX, Samsung Pay, very good software, very good set of cameras, and of course it's easy to use, and I'm quite used to the Samsung ecosystem. Of course, Huawei P50 Pro, it was one of the best competitors to Samsung back in the day. Of course, without the Google experience, it has definitely kind of affected this company quite a lot. But if you look at the internal specs and of course the build design and all this other stuff, it works really nice. You have a nice slick design, you have your stereo speaker setup, a nice display, you have a a good Snapdragon 888 processor. So all in all, a very complete package. And of course, yes, those huge cameras, which also do give an awesome set of photos. So yes, it's really up to you guys what you really want. If you guys don't want the hassle of the Google, and of course you want a nice ecosystem, I think Samsung here definitely does a good job. Huawei as well does a very good job in terms of their own ecosystem. Again, like I mentioned, Google is a major thing, and yes, I'm repeating it a lot of times because that is one of the reasons why I don't review a lot of Huawei phones, because of that sole reason. Because these are just my thoughts and my opinion. Do leave yours in the comments section down below. Of course, share your experiences using any of these two phones over here in the comments down below. So if you guys did enjoy this video and also want to see more of this type of videos, do click the like and smash the subscribe button down below for more videos like this in the future. Do also follow me on my social as well on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also here on YouTube, and Dr. Hummus Tech. So that is it. This is Dr. Hummus Tech. Stay safe, take care, and wash those hands.